My name is Joshua Okeafor. To that, I've also added Ephraim, which is my father's first name. I use the pseudonym Joshua Ephraim when I write and KK when I direct. I'll just background myself a little. I got involved in film when I was 21 years old. That's when I wrote my first screenplay. It was called The Dangerous Love, Sandra Achons and Simon. And then I went to film school, National Film Institute, just about 2003. And I've been practicing film ever since. Okay, the topic of today is one that is very dear to my heart. Nollywood. First of all, even the term Nollywood, I find very disturbing. I know it's become a brand name. Everybody says Nollywood. Everybody. In fact, for some people in the industry, it's actually like a promotion for them that we can in any way be likened to Hollywood. But actually what that name automatically does is that it makes us not subservient by any means, but it does mean that we derive our essence from Hollywood. And there are many of us who not agree with this. The Nigerian film expression as it stands now is not perfect by any means, but it is independent. In fact, it's one of the only few national cinemas in the world that is independent. And by that I mean not only financially, I'm not talking of Naira and Kobo per se, but I'm talking of, in terms of every other thing that makes a film industry what it is, in terms of style, in terms of mode or choice, rather, of expression. Okay. And today we are talking about Nollywood, the challenges, or rather the challenge of excellence. Okay, so the challenge of excellence. How many people here have seen a Nigerian film, a Nollywood film, in the last 2 days? Please indicate by a show of hands. Okay. That's really encouraging, because usually when I ask this, I get like one hand out of maybe 50. We were in Bayelsa recently to do a workshop sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Tourism, and you'll be surprised, none of them watch Nigerian films. They're all young people of between 18, 20 something, and you think that that is the main demographics for films that we do. None of them watch Nigerian films. Okay. And the reason why I've had it often, the reason why people don't watch Nigerian films anymore, because they used to watch, is according, there are so many reasons, but the most occurrent one is that standards have dropped. Okay, and so that's why I thought this topic would be nice for discussion. The challenge of excellence. Okay, where is the second level from Nollywood? Where do we go from here? Now, I want to juxtaposition that with the very real problems we have in Nollywood. Foremost amongst these problems, that of finance. My last film, can we have a projector? My last film, Spirit of the Assassin, was fortunate in that it cost a little bit more than the normal Nigerian film. I think the average cost for a Nigerian film, it's about 5 million, about that, 4-5 million. But we actually have a budget, or we had a budget about 4-5 times that. And that was very fortunate for us. But it took 5 years to get that money. And we spent almost $1 million to get that money. Because nobody believes that a Nigerian film is worth spending anything above 5 million on. So when you come to them and they're talking crazy stuff like spending 25 million on one film, in fact, the average Gibraltar person that time said, "Okay, you go through launching for this kind of film before you do." And that was typical. So that's why we had to go outside the typical, normal fundraising circle to get money. Hollywood, Spirit of the Assassin was finally made as a co-production with Diamond Pictures, which is actually the first film. They're a film company that they've done stuff that you might have seen on TV. Tarima, there's a TV serial called Tarima, yeah, they do that. But Spirit of the Assassin was the first film. So it took someone outside, who did not have, let me say, call it the cynicism that had been bringing all the other participants to sponsor a film like this. But then I remember when we first gave them the script, the first thing the chairman of the company, Andy Boyle, said was, he's lived like in America all his life. And the first thing he said was, okay, we're going to fly in everybody from Texas, from this. And I said, no, sir, that's not the idea behind this film. Okay, the idea is that this should be proudly Nigerian. The initial idea that went on to become Spirit of the Assassin was that we wanted to do a Nigerian Matrix. It's as simple as that. We wanted a film that would have all the kick-ass special effects of Matrix, but still be grounded in Africa. Of course, now we needed an African reason. So instead of having technology like in Matrix, we said, okay, what other thing in Africa can make people fly and crawl on ceilings and all that? And we said, African technology, black magic. Yeah, so basically we crafted a story that we could do stuff with, and it would be wholly Africa, and it would be wholly Africa, and yet it would be close to, maybe not Matrix, but something that anybody could watch outside Nigeria. That was basically Spirit. And let me here point out that Spirit of the Assassin was, and it still is, an experimental film. It was just an attempt to see how much we can do without outside help. And why is that so? Now, I'm not saying that we as an industry do not need outside help. Of course we do. But you see, there is this danger. And if you look around, it's everywhere. If you look at the national cinema, the film industry of South Africa, or even the UK, those guys depend on foreign films to survive. And when I say foreign films, I specifically mean American products. In South Africa, they are basically going from one American film to the other. And when I say American films that choose to come and shoot there, and then everybody gets work. The South African films are so far and few in between, except these days that I'm very sure, motivated by Nigerian films, you have a lot of younger people trying to do something via the digital route. But before then, how many, prior to say 1990, how many South African films were there? It's the same thing with the UK. The UK film industry, if it's not funded by government, nothing is happening. And that is what I think might eventually happen if we open our doors here in Nigeria and say, everybody coming. And you know, right now that's what's happening. Everybody wants to come to Nigeria because Nollywood, like it or not, is gaining attention. But they are not coming to help us. They are coming to take over. So the point is, how do we, as a filmmaking nation, get to that logical next step without being swallowed by these older and better film people? Okay, that's what this topic is about, Nollywood. The challenge of excellence is there. We do know we need to improve in sound, in picture quality, in virtually everything. And I want to point out before I start showing you things that Spirit of the Assassin is an experiment. And of course, no one expects perfection in an experiment. But what you're about to see is something that was done without 1% foreign help. Like the first trailer, that was done like maybe 2 years or so ago when we first started editing. It was basically done to when we were trying to pass the film around, especially to the press and all that. And it's a short clip, I know that it's by no means a finished work. But I want what the areas I wanted you to actually see where the CG elements, specifically like the trailer that crashed, for instance. Now, that was 100% CG by Nigerian boys and girls. I remember when we first tried, I don't know, okay, let me play something. There's something I want you to see. It was essential for this film that we do what has been called wire. I'm talking about now. This shot needed wire stunts, okay. And when we first thought about doing now, in the course of these films, it needed a lot of wires because this guy is supposed to be like an assassin, the spirit of an assassin that been dead for like 200 years, and he possesses people and then they kill. Actually, what we did was we said, anytime the police, you know, what they say in papers, they can't find Bola against killers, they can't find who killed the killer, we say, okay, it's this gentleman, and all that. But we were able to like do stuff like him crawling on the ceiling, the girl jumping from one high-rise building into another, and we needed wire stunts for all of that. And for the life of us, we could not get anybody. Even out, in fact, that was the only point where we were willing to compromise and say, let someone come from overseas to do it for us. And we searched. The only person who agreed to come, one Swiss gentleman like that, we offered him 50,000 naira. Now, this is a budget that is like 25 million. 50,000 is about 7.5 million naira. We offered him 50,000. That's more than how many percent? Like 25% of the budget. And he refused. You know, he refused to come just to do the wire stunts. But we needed to make it happen. So what did we do? We researched. You know, we visited online forums. We spoke to everybody. We got videos. We got makings of films like The Matrix and other films, 300. In fact, anywhere that in fact, I didn't even know that wire stunting had become an industry in itself. There was like a community practicing. We saw videos of under 20 kids doing this thing abroad, but they had access to stuff we didn't have access to here. So basically, it was learning on the job. Okay, but yeah, we as I said, we might not have succeeded too well. And I'll show you an example of my example. Okay, let me show you. Let's play this whole video and I'll point out something. Let's usually when they are up there, they can't even move their leg. They can't move the leg. And then there's a challenge of hiking wires. There's a challenge of getting a harness. It's called the jack belt. We didn't know it was called the jack belt then. There's that challenge. And there's a challenge of hiking the wires. If you notice, you can actually see the wire at the top. Can you see? Yeah. That's because it's not a wire, it's a rope. You know, if anyone has seen the making of the Matrix or Crouching Tiger, and you don't see their wire. They are so thin. But yet, it's the same wires they use to hold planes when they take off on aircraft carriers. But we couldn't get it. We looked everywhere. We couldn't get it. All we could do was manage. So that's what I'm talking about. How to output global product using local resources. Now, it's a doctrine of mine. It is by no means an accepted theory or anything, but I'm saying that we can actually, using just stuff that we have around, using our own people, using our own resources, do or make films that can be watched anywhere in the world. I think what we need more time. That, as I said, this is experimental. We now, because this film was done in 6 very short weeks, I think we needed closer to maybe 6 months. Okay, we did the research for, as I said, I've been looking for the money before, and so at that time we've been, but there's a limit to what you can do without money. But when the money actually came, we found that we had just about 2 months, basically, to do all the research we had to do, and then we're on location. In fact, if you notice, you see a lot of deep focus photography in the film. Okay, that's because the lens we needed to get, they didn't arrive, and money was wasted, and the executive producer, the financiers, kept screaming, just shoot, and so we just shot. But over and above all, what I'm trying to point out from this is that, like it or not, we have a Nigerian film, and this person, he made the jump. He And we have it all over the film. We have guys crawling, maybe not perfectly yet, but I'm willing to bet that in our second effort it will be much better. And the challenge here is, please do not wait until some people come from overseas to do your films. We always have something we can use around us, but it's finding the right way to use those things, because I'm not in any way advocating I'm not saying do something shoddy. I'm saying do it well as you're able in any way, using what you have. And I think this film is a triumph of showing how resilient the African spirit is. And I'd like to encourage all of us who are interested in films, in media, if you don't have lights, if you don't have the right lights, if the right light, for instance, HMI lights, and here they cost abominable prices. Like that, when you make the conversion to Nigeria, you're asking a single fixture, light fixture, can actually build a house in Nigeria. Yeah, an HMI, say 5K, will build you a house, and you need like say 2 or 3 of that, and then a few 1.2s, a few 10K. We can't wait for that, but you need good lights to do films. Okay, so what do? The truth is, you can adapt. I've actually seen some security lights that output, when you measure candle power, that's with lights, they output the same thing as HMI lights. But they don't call them film lights, but they do the same thing. Kinoflows, you use these low energy device bulbs and stack them up in a rack. You have a soft box. There's nothing different between that and a 1 million naira Kinoflow. But we are so hung on that. It's the way they made it. It's for this that we lose sight of function, and we should be looking at function. If it serves the purpose, use it. That's what basically I'm saying. It doesn't matter what wrapping it comes in. If it serves the purpose well, remember I said don't do shoddy stuff, but if it serves the purpose well, use it. Use it. We have the saying in film that the only thing that matters is what gets on the screen. Nobody, if you write here, there's nowhere it's written here that actually this is not a wire. And remember, we took out this wire. We took it out well. We rotoscoped. It's gone. We can't see it. Rotoscope means that we went frame by frame. Yes, so going our way, you might need to do extra work. Yes, you might need to do extra work. You can't use the normal After Effects wire, removal plugin. That probably will work so well. So we had to rotoscope go frame. But it worked. It worked. And I keep saying that in our second outing, which will be very soon, then we'll do like 10 times better than this. And that is just the crux of this whole talk. That please let's not wait until we have people from overseas. Let's use what we have right here in Nigeria, right here in Africa, and do things that will amaze the world. Because right now, the world is asking, what next for Nollywood? And they're not really getting good answers. Because now they're asking what next for Nollywood, and Nollywood is looking up to them to give us what next. Because we think we've reached our limit. And I'm saying that it's time for a rebirth, using what we have, using our own human capacity, our own resources, our own money. That's very important too. So it has to do with the budget you have. You can't wait for, how much is 5 million in dollars? 220 or something, 200. It's peanuts, even for an indie film over there. Okay. Yeah, but we'll show you 5 screens in South Africa. It's the largest cinema chain in South Africa. We showed them, got good reviews. So we can do it. That's basically what I'm saying. Let's not wait. We don't have to wait for one and I know, fine. I went to a set, I won't mention the set, about a year and a half ago in Bayelsa, and there were white people all over the place. Now, I'm not a racist, okay? But these white people were cool, okay? But basically, they were directing the film. And the director was like, I was asking, director, what's supposed to happen here? And he's like, okay, go to that list. And that guy is talking about, it's a DP. He hasn't done up to 3 films in his life, but he lives in Bulgaria. And because he can handle the red, the Nigerian director is now taking orders from him. And that really kind of bothered me. Because nobody can tell our stories as well as us. Let's not lose focus of the fact that the whole thing that made Nollywood or Nigerian film successful was the simple premise: African stories for Africans. And I should like to add by Africans too. African stories for Africans everywhere by Africans. Once we lose that, there is no Nollywood. There's only a sidekick to America, to Hollywood, just like so many other industries are now. Once we lose that, we've lost everything. And in 5 years' time, in 20 years' time maybe, nobody will come here and talk about Nigerian film again, because there will be no Nigerian film. There will just be a shadow of American film. So by all means, let's try to get up on the same stage with the rest of them, but let's do it our way, using our own stuff. Just like we did in, wanted to do a Matrix, a Nigerian Matrix. We don't have technology, yes. If we have gone there and said, okay, like, I don't know who saw Kajola like 2 years back. Yeah, Kajola was something to be like that. It was a very good idea, but if you permit me, the initial idea, the idea itself, the concept was flawed because it wasn't really true to our society. Okay, but we said, okay, fine, what to do? Let's find a reason for this guy to fly around. He's a magician. He has one or like that. And it works. Yeah, everybody believes there are witches in Nigeria, so might as well use that. So that's basically what happened. Thank you for your time. That's just the bottom line. We did it ourselves. When we approached the only person who gave us audience, he said he wanted $50,000. That was, of course, like 25% of our budget, so it was a no can do. No, actually, we offered $50,000, sorry, and he refused. Okay, he refused. So at that stage, we were like, okay, let's do this ourselves. So we basically did the research online. We didn't even go. It would have been nice if we could afford for someone to actually go on site, travel overseas and see something, even if people go on film that they are making like that, but we didn't have that opportunity. So what we basically did was go online and download every single video, article, discussion, or whatever that, like right now I know everything about Yoping. Yoping did the stuff for Matrix and Crouching Tiger. So we did that, and then from all of that, we were able to say, okay, how can we adapt what we have? We found that people in the oil industry have a body harness that we could adapt for our use. So we got that, okay, but it had too many metals and all that. So we tried to see how we could mask some of that, then we reshaped a few, and then of course they were just too heavy. They were a bit too heavy, so we looked how we do that, and then again we are cutting into the actor's flesh, so we needed to make some sort of like a body suit for the harness before costume. And on someone like this now, it looks because this character is supposed to have been like 200 years ago, but we have a girl that was actually the challenge. A girl that's supposed to look like a sexy vixen, sort of, very brief shorts and all that. How do you hide all of that? But we still managed to do that. So basically, we did ourselves. And that's the challenge. It took time, and we might not have done it perfectly, granted, yes, granted. But it's as close to perfection as maybe it doesn't matter.
And the actors were willing to work with you on that?
Well, now, remember, this was a new thing. Of course, we had complaints. As I said, the harness at first was cutting into their flesh. In fact, I actually volunteered to do the first test. I was the first person in Nigeria to go up on the harness. And when that happened, I felt okay. But of course, we had not taken into consideration that these guys are doing all sorts of stunts. Like this guy up in the air is a stunt double. Okay? He's doubling for an actor called Andy Boyle, who is actually playing this character. And we had about 6 of them or so from Sokoto State. They were into martial arts and everything. And we needed choreography, combat choreography for them. So we brought them from there, we went towards martial arts stuff and all that. And we said, okay, fine. We want combat choreography, but we don't want the normal kung fu thing. You have to adapt it and make it look a little Nigerian. I'll show you a clip. I don't think we succeeded too well in that because there are so many. This is an example of the combat scene. These are stuntmen from Sokoto State. Because one thing we did was that as far as Nigeria was concerned, we went everywhere. We went to Kaduna, Sokoto, Jos. I allowed the brain to show so that you can actually see the process of making. That's like a brief listing of the stunt. So the places where you see on green are the matte shots, the process plates we did. So cleaned it up and put the background and all that. So I just allowed it so that you see the process. All of this was shot, like for instance, the main fight scene in this thing was shot here in Lagos, but all the process plates were done in Warri because we couldn't find a warehouse for the price we needed and for the duration we needed in Lagos. So we went to Warri to shoot a part of the film and we did all of that. So basically we are mixing shots from the warehouse and we did the studio and all that. So about the actors, how they took it. Remember, it's a new thing. When we first started, we had tested it on me, for instance, but we had not tested it in actual combat situations. So we didn't know how the harness will interact with the actors when they actually start fighting. When we started, we discovered that it was actually biting, because this thing, originally, as I said, it was designed for oil, guys on oil rigs. use it like a safety harness for that's the word. So of course it doesn't. They didn't plan for all those kind of movements in the air, so it was cutting into their body. So we had to come down and say, okay, how do we solve this? Okay, let's make some sort of bodysuit for them, but a bodysuit that will not be visible outside the costume, especially for the girl, because the girl too, I don't know if you saw a girl in the early trailer, the first trailer I played, okay, there's that girl too, the plot of the story is that the spirit comes into her and then she starts doing all those things too. Okay, so for her especially, I know we had a lot of stress, but when the actors finally understood that we didn't have all the answers, we made that very plain. It was a work in progress. We were just hoping that everybody would be understanding enough to go the extra mile for us. They adapted pretty well. So in the end, I think we had their cooperation.